Good morning. This is Mornings with Michael. Welcome to our second edition of Businesses We're Profiling. Hope everyone's well. We have David, who goes by Joe of Freitas from Premier Logistics Solutions this morning, and let's just get started.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
So with Joe, do you have a little background of how you got into this business? I think you said you used to be a news reporter.
I did. Yeah, I've been around freight my entire life. My dad was a sales rep for an LTL carrier called Roadway back in the day. That's now YRC. And then he moved into management and kind of moved his way up the chain at various LTL carriers. And then I went off and I was a TV reporter for 10 years. And decided at the end of that time that it was time to join the family business. And so I joined him. And that was
Awesome.
15 and a half years ago. I've been doing this for, about 15 years now.
Okay. And you do worldwide service?
We do. Yeah, we specialize kind of in the United States, but we can service anywhere on the planet. Yeah.
And what's your team consist of? How many?
Sure. Yeah. So we have 5 operations employees, a sales rep, and then someone who assists in accounting. So about, in all, there's between 9 and 10 of us. I'd say 9.5.
So just to be open with everybody who's watching or listening, I worked with Joe's service for 15, 18 years, and they've always provided great service. Be at a trade show, it'd be a Saturday or Sunday, we had to move out and get a phone call. How are things working for moving your equipment out? And it was awesome. So it was just a great experience. That's from my point of view. I just wanted to add that. But you do full truckload LTL?
Right. So in transportation, LTL is less than truckload. So 6 pallets or less, and typically 12,000 pounds or less is what qualifies for LTL freight. And that is, I would say, probably 90% of our business. We really specialize in LTL freight. And while it sounds simple, LTL actually has several layers of complexity that, for example, truckload freight doesn't. Truckload freight, you're just putting a bunch of freight on a big truck and getting it from A to B. Where LTL freight, there's all sorts of factors with freight class and dimensions and all these different things, that accessorials that come into play. And so we really try and flex our muscle there with our expertise in LTL freight. We do truckload as well, both flatbed and what's called dry van, which is just the standard trucks you see going down the road. And we also have done specialized stuff over the years where we've moved big oversized freight that requires permits and different things like that. So we can handle a wide range of complexities when it comes to freight. We also do air freight as well, as you mentioned, expedite, and we do ocean to Alaska, Hawaii, and then overseas also.
So what kind of carriers do you use? How do you figure out which is the best way to go?
Yeah, so the LTL carriers that we use are typically the ones you see going down the road. We have a wide range from very economical carriers like Clearlane and Frontline, which move freight at an extremely slow rate, usually via rail, all the way up to like a FedEx LTL Priority, which moves freight very rapidly. So we have everything in between. And for our larger customers, we negotiate specific pricing for them based on the commodities that they're shipping. So if we have a customer that's shipping a lot of refrigerators, for example, we'll negotiate with a carrier to make sure they understand what freight class they're shipping consistently and where they're shipping consistently, and work pricing that way. Otherwise, our customers fall under what's called blanket pricing, which applies to anybody. And those rates tend to be, I wouldn't say less competitive, but not as tailored for the customer's needs necessarily. Customers, sometimes we have a customer, for example, that does a ton of residential liftgate delivery, and carriers charge additional fees to deliver to a house. They charge an additional fee to use the liftgate, which is the thing that goes up and down on the back of the truck. And so carriers, LTL carriers, I always say they're more and more like the airlines, or they're figuring out ways to add all sorts of little fees to your freight bill. And so we're aware of all those and really help you try to mitigate those, especially for larger volume shippers. We really try and negotiate with the carriers where they may charge a standard customer $120 for a lift gate. We'll negotiate them down to perhaps $25. And that's all part of the negotiation that we do when we first start working with a customer.
Okay.
And then you
And
asked
then you
about,
have internet site
we do, yeah. So we have
for the customer.
Exactly. Yep. So we have a TMS, a transportation management system that we use. And that's the way that we determine the best rate for the customer. We can plug in a few different factors, the zip codes, the weight, and the freight class. And then our system actually goes out via API, which are like connections to all the different carrier systems. And they bring back real-time rates based on that specific set of criteria for the shipment. And then we can determine, based on the customer's needs, perhaps the freight can get there in 2 weeks and that's okay. So they want to go with the most economical carrier, or they need it really rapidly. They need it in 3 or 4 days, and we can choose that carrier for them. And we do have an online website where customers can log into their own portal and do that online as well, track all their shipments. They can pull reporting so they have full visibility and tracking to all of their shipments. Or we're glad to do that as well. We let customers know that there are other people out there, other freight brokers, which is what our business is called, that really push people to only do stuff online. We try and be really flexible. There's some people that have the time and knowledge to do that. And our system is very straightforward, but there's some people that's just too cumbersome. They've got a million other things going on, and it's easier to call us or shoot us an email, or we're online chat with some of our customers. So it really varies depending on the customer's needs, how they want to communicate and how they want to book their freight.
Mm-hmm.
And then we provide all the paperwork. Our system generates all the paperwork. We schedule the carriers. Everything's tracked every day. So our system provides a lot of automation and visibility to the customer.
And then you do a full a reporting system, like weekly, monthly.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of the information that's in our system can be reported on. We have a very, very powerful reporting, and customers can receive those emails daily on a schedule. They can pull those reports anytime. So we have kind of a push-pull where we can push information to them when they want it, or they can pull it at any time. We also offer a dashboarding system where they can really dive deep into their different lanes, different carriers. There's all sorts of data visualizations and KPIs that we can set for them.
And you have, I think you also, don't you have a yearly guaranteed pricing that you can do for clients?
It depends on the size of the customer.
Okay.
For very large volume customers, that's more possible. For smaller customers, and I use the word small, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I was just talking with one of my colleagues this morning, and to be honest, we're not being treated very well by one of our partner carriers because I think they don't think we do enough business with them. And we really, I know everybody talks the talk, but I feel like we really walk the walk in terms of our customer service. A customer can ship with me once a month, and I'm going to treat them just the same as a customer that ships with us 30 times a day. To me, you never know when that once a month customer is going to hit it big, and all of a sudden they're a 30 shipment a day customer. They're looking to grow their business just like we're looking to grow our business. And so it's really important to me that there's consistency in the customer service that we provide all the people that we partner with. And I use that word partner carefully. We really try and treat our customers as partners and act as an extension of their operation and their brand. We try and reflect the best of what they do.
So do you have outside of shipping, I'd just like to get a little personal anecdote from people. Sure. What are some of your hobbies, Joe? What do you like to do?
Trying to keep up with my 2 kids at the moment. I have a 14 and an 11-and-a-half-year-old, and as all kids are these days, they're busy with theater and sports and those kinds of things. So, trying to run around with them and volunteer where we can with them. My kids right now are in their school production, so I'm volunteering to help with all of that, and it's just really fun. It's the reason that I got out of news all those years ago. I wanted to be able to be there for my kids and be more flexible and have the option to volunteer in the evenings and be around. And so I'm really glad to do that.
That's
Other than that,
awesome.
I really enjoy the Peloton. I've been the last 6 months or so, I've really gotten into that, and it's really fun, great exercise. So
Well, what do you think it is about a family-owned business that is different?
I think our agility. I think that we can respond to things very, very quickly. We can get customers set up really quickly. We can respond to their needs really quickly. There's not layers of bureaucracy and red tape that you have to cut through. If you call me, I'll get it done. And I think that's true of anybody here. And a lot of our customers have our personal cell phone numbers, and we have really personal connections with a lot of our customers, where I think in a large corporate environment, that's difficult. You have a lot of turnover. I mean, I think our newest employee has worked with us for 8 years. So we really, and our oldest employee is 20 plus. So we don't have a lot of turnover with our employees, and I think that makes for longer term, more consistent relationships with our customers. We've had some of our customers 20 plus years, because I think we really try and take good care of them. And I think for a family business, those relationships matter more. When you're talking about some of the big corporations I've worked with for freight brokerages, they have their strengths. Just their sheer size can be a help to them sometimes, but it can also be a hindrance because they can't react as quickly as we can when a customer needs something done.
Can you do you have any people that have experience from other businesses that they work for that bring to the table, say, for instance, working with trade shows that would help, say, be a new company that hadn't been going to a trade show that would really be helpful?
Yeah, so all of our employees that we hired, pretty much across the board, have all worked for carriers in the past. So they've kind of been on the other side of the business. And so they bring a lot of that knowledge to the table when it comes to all the different modes and things that can happen in freight. And over the years, we've really worked to educate our employees and kind of cross-train everybody to make sure that everybody has the same basic knowledge. We do have people that specialize, for example, in trade shows. We have one employee that's really strong in understanding how that process works, what specific carriers to use for what shows, the move-in process, the move-out process. As you know, that can be an extremely stressful experience for an exhibitor. And timing all that right is, you spend a fortune to exhibit at a show. So all of that freight becomes really, really important. And then we have other employees that are experts in areas of, unfortunately, in freight, things happen. Things get lost or damaged, and so she's really an expert in following up on those areas. For our customers, we file all our claims on their behalf, and so we really assist and guide through that process. And a freight claim, as you know, is basically when something is damaged or lost. Unfortunately, in freight, there's headaches that come up, and we really try and make sure that we're helping our customers handle those headaches so they can worry about their day-to-day jobs, and we can take all that on for them.
Say the big buzzword now throughout a lot of communities is AI.
Yes.
Are you using that at all in your business or in transportation?
We are, yeah. So the software we use is called TI, actually, Transportation Applied Intelligence. And for many years, they've touted that artificial intelligence. And what our software does in that respect is really guide people in selecting the right carrier for that shipment, and applying that kind of system intelligence when it comes to booking the freight, tracking the freight, or receiving automated feeds. I suspect we'll see growth in that front. There's a lot of freight, unfortunately, is still a very antiquated system at the end of the day. The fact is there's people physically driving the truck. There's people physically loading the truck. There's people physically, billing. They're actually punching the information into a computer based on a piece of paper that they get from the driver. And there's a lot of talk in the transportation industry about automating that, having what are called electronic bills of lading, where everything will be submitted electronically. The driver won't even need that piece of paper. The biller won't need that piece of paper. Everything will be in the system and kind of ready to roll. So there's efficiencies that will be gained there. And I do think that there'll be some artificial intelligence when it comes to guiding customers on maybe selecting the right freight class and understanding. For example, a lot of times people might ship to, Bob's Plumbing. Well, it turns out that Bob runs his plumbing business out of his house, which makes sense for a plumber. Will carriers charge an extra fee to deliver to that house? And unless you know that, you're not planning for that ahead of time and making the right selection for the right carriers, because one carrier might charge $100 for a residential fee, one might charge $25. Unless you're factoring that in front, you may select the wrong carrier and pay too much. So I think there'll be some artificial intelligence help there as well. But we'll see how that plays out. It'll be interesting.
And I've always appreciated, I worked with Bob Joseph, and Bob was always great. He would call me and tell me that your shipment has been picked up, and then he'd let me know it's en route, it's scheduled to be there, and then he'll call and say, your shipment has just been delivered. So that was always great, because it could keep the customer in tuned and what they could expect. And
absolutely,
that kind of personal relationship with your business, I've always appreciated.
Thank you, and we're really proud of that. And Bob is one of our sales reps, and he is remarkable. His customer service has taught me, it's next level in terms of how he cares for his customers. And I feel like we really try and communicate with customers at every possible step that we can, and keep them, because it cuts both ways for all of us. Amazon has taught all of us to expect everything in 2 days. That's, especially if you live in a large area, you expect it maybe even faster than that. In the Bay Area and Sacramento, we can get freight, even in the same day when you order it. It's crazy sometimes. And so more and more people have that expectation for not only information about when it's going to get there, but that rapid time frame. But more and more that information, they want alerts that it's out for delivery that day. And our system can provide all of that. But for some customers, that conversation or that email really makes a difference and makes everybody feel better. As a former journalist, I know, pretty well that information is power. And if people feel empowered and if they feel in control, even when a situation maybe goes a little off the rails, as long as they have that information, they don't feel like they're out of control. And that's a really important part of business.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate your time this morning. I know you're really busy running your business, and
glad to do it.
We wish you Mornings with Michael wishes you continued success, and we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Well, everybody, that's been our Mornings with Michael. We'll get back to our market segment later in the week, but we hope everybody has a great weekend. You take care.